everybody. Welcome to National Annual Meeting, Day 2. We are joined by a super cool exclusive guest. We are actually going to get to talk to Glen right now. He is the Chief Safeguarding Officer for Scouting America. Glen, thank you for joining us.
Hey, no, it's great to be here.
Yeah, we've just thrown you live on camera. I think this was your first time on the show with us, so we're super lucky and excited about this because yesterday you actually addressed NAM audiences, and we're talking about the Safeguarding Youth training that is going to be coming to Scouting America in a matter of days. Is that right?
That's right.
So what is Safeguarding Youth training?
Okay, so first of all, guys, good afternoon. I should say, first of all, thank you for doing a great job looking after our scouts. Scouting is extremely safe when we follow our protocols as designed. The Safeguarding Youth training, for the first time, also builds in our SAFE acronym, which starts with supervision, goes on to assessment, fitness and skills, equipment and environment. But the most important one part of that's most important is supervision. So, you know, when scouts go and lead, they need our adult supervision. But it's also about abuse prevention. So those two parts are built into our new Safeguarding Youth training.
Okay, and so this will be the training for Scout leaders, right?
This will be our new training. It launches tomorrow, live tomorrow. It will be possible to take the new training from tomorrow. My apologies for not getting it out the door quicker, but I think you'll see we spent a long time on it for a good reason.
Tomorrow, that's very exciting.
Tomorrow, and you know, while we coordinated it at National, it's our training for us as a movement. You're going to see volunteers talking to camera, explaining about the barriers in scouting environments. It will look and feel very different. So again, I know you guys have sometimes had to take YPT a number of times. Those days are almost gone. The new SYT, Safeguarding Youth Training, begins tomorrow.
So you've definitely touched on it quite a bit already, but what is different from YPT, Youth Protection Training, and Safeguarding Youth Training?
So I think the biggest difference is that we build in SAFE as part of it, because of course we want to prevent serious harm and an injury to our scouts, as well as preventing abuse. So that's the biggest technical change, is adding that. But the look and feel of it is radically different. The aim with this training is to empower all of our great scouting family to enjoy the magic of scouting in a safe way. And you know, by following those barriers, as you guys do, we'll have a much better scouting experience.
We were just talking to a volunteer yesterday who was saying, hey, I wish we talk so much about, you know, what we talk about with YPT. We don't talk a whole lot about just the physical safety of scouts and all the activities they do. I'm super excited for him to take this training and see that element in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, for people, and it's very, very, very rare, but there are old cases where fatalities have happened. Those people, one of the guys, I showed him the training last week, the section on SAFE. He was almost in tears, and he said, this is going to save lives. You know, and it's about having that information, knowing where to go, and you know, not losing the magic of scouting when you're taking training. You should finish that training feeling empowered. And there's another piece of news I'd like to share around the new training, if you don't mind. So everyone will take the new training once, and then the following year, the aim is to have a refresher training of no more than around 15 minutes. And then you take the test, and that's you good for another year. So that is the plan. That refresher training, we'll develop that over the next few months so that it's ready to go this time next year.
That is super exciting. I actually caught that yesterday when you were talking to the NAM crowds. I'm so pumped about that. I think a lot of our audience at home is probably cheering. One last question before we let you go, Glen. People at home are definitely going to be wondering, so when am I going to have to take this? If I'm still good on my YPT training, do I have to take this right tomorrow when it rolls out?
It's a great question. It's probably the question that most people are like, oh no, I've just completed YPT. Look, if you just completed YPT, you're still going to get a full year of credit for taking that YPT. There's nothing technically wrong with YPT. You know, those barriers to abuse work. I hope once you get a sense of people taking the new training that you'll want to dive into it sooner than that, because there is a lot of new material in there, particularly on technology, particularly what to do when kids have a problem online. All that stuff is built into the new training. And of course, we know technology plays a huge part in everything we do these days. So I hope that people will hear about the training and go, wow, it's different. So I do want to take it earlier, but we're not going to mandate that people take it, earlier than they need to. And more than that, how we've set this up is if you're part way through your YPT, we're going to leave that open for about a week, so you can finish off on the old YPT, so that those people can transition over, if that makes sense.
Yes, this is very considerate rollout, very intentional. We really like it. We appreciate having you on the show
No, of
here.
course.
Thanks
Again,
for your time.
Our family of, people who care for and look after our scouts, you're our eyes and ears and arms out there. It's our training for us as a movement. It's not training from national, it's our training. So thank you for everything you do.
Very good. You heard it here. Okay, we have another really exciting surprise for all of you. Aaron was able to catch up with our keynote earlier, Richard Reeves. We're going to roll into that video right now.
We are here at the 2025 National Annual Meeting with Richard Reeves, who just gave us a really nice, interesting talk about the important role that scouting plays in boys and young men. Thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great to be here.
You said something that was really interesting, I thought, earlier about the role that scout leaders can play as, I think you said, mental health professionals in disguise.
Mental health professionals in disguise.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we see these huge mental health challenges for girls and boys, but for boys, it's quite often, they find it a little bit difficult sometimes to talk about, especially if you stare them in the face in a therapy room. It turns out they're more comfortable talking shoulder to shoulder on a hike, engaged in an activity, with whichever kind of men are around. So I think that's coaches, scout leaders, teachers, in this active way. And so I think that scouting creates a space where issues that we don't even have to label as mental health issues. We didn't always. That you could just say, when I was a scout leader, we'd say, you seem a little bit off. Is everything okay? You just chat, right? Because you're making some tent pegs or something, and you're just like, are you okay, right? And then I don't know, I had this thing with my mom, so I'm not suggesting for a moment that scout leaders have to all become trained psychologists.
Right.
I'm just saying that this happens at all kinds of levels, and that we can create a safe place, particularly for boys and young men, to talk about how they're feeling.
Very interesting. One of the things that we always say in scouting is that you can't have scouting without outdoors. We take kids outdoors all the time.
Yeah.
Do you think that outdoors can play a role in keeping young men healthy, physically, mentally, everything?
I mean, to be clear, it's good for all young people and kids to get outside and exercise, but the evidence is also pretty strong. It's even more important for boys and young men. That physical activity, it is just harder on the average for boys and men to sit still.
Right.
And so regular physical activity, just getting out and engaging with nature and kind of getting competent in nature, I have absolutely no doubt that is crucial for the successful development of kind of boys and young men. It was crucial for me growing up as a scout. It was crucial for my boys growing up as cubs and scouts, and also the confidence that they get from doing that. So I was able to let my own kids go off camping on their own, in the middle of nowhere, as young teenagers,
right?
Because they were skilled at it. They knew what to do, and they were confident out there. And the confidence and excitement they got from that, from being able to go out into the elements, cook their own food, put up a tent when the rain came.
Yes, you mentioned the value of being believing that you're good at something, right?
That's right. Competence. And I think being physically competent, especially outdoors, is just great, and it's particularly great for boys and young men. It's okay to say that, and it's been part of the magic of scouting all along. Is the kind of pride and sense of competence you get from that. I had struggled at school myself for quite a lot of the time, but quite often I just got a scout badge, and so I had that, or we've just been on a great camp or a great hike. I vividly remember getting the badge where you had to hike out into the middle of nowhere, build a bivouac, spend the night on your own, coming back. I felt pretty good about myself.
Right. Well, really enjoyed your talk today. Thanks for being here. As I have a daughter and a son. Spot on the talk that you gave. I mean, I think all of us.
And you care equally about them both, right?
Of course.
If I came along and said we're only allowed to care about one, you would probably punch me in the face. You would say something like, you would no violence.
Exactly. Really enjoyed it. It's nice to meet you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody.
Great job, Aaron. Thank you, Richard. One of my favorite things Richard said too, if anybody out there is watching and wondering, our focus as a society on boys does not need to detract from our focus on society as girls. It's an and, not an or. That's definitely going to stick with me. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. We will bring you all the good news coming out of National Annual Meeting. Keep your eyes on the Aaron on Scouting blog, and we will be back for Cub Chat Live tomorrow. See ya.